What's up, family? What is up? We have another episode of Creative Conversations with JA. Creative Conversations with JA. I'm so excited that you decided to be on with us this morning. Yes, this morning. I'm so glad that you decided to be with us this morning. It's the first day of June 2024. It seemed like we was just in January, but now it is June. We're on the halfway mark of the year of 2024, and I'm so glad that you are here having the creative conversations with us today. Our special guest today is Parrish Davenport. He is in the studio. He's locked and loaded. But before we bring him on, just a couple housekeeping notes. This is Creative Conversations with JA. You can find us on almost all platforms. We're on Google. We're on Google Podcasts. We're on Apple Podcasts. Anywhere you can find a podcast, we are on that platform. And we just thank you for just joining us. We thank you for just another opportunity to have a creative conversation with one of some creative conversation with some amazing people in our community. Like I said, it's June 1st. June is typically the month where we talk to fathers. This is where we commemorate our fathers. This is Father's Month for a lot of people. Father's Day is coming up, and we're just excited about what is going to transpire today. We're excited about what is going to happen today. Like I said, our special guest today is Parrish Davenport. If you need to catch any of the replays, yes, catch any of the replay, you can catch us on Creative Conversations Facebook page, Creative Conversation YouTube page, and we are on there. We are excited. We have had some amazing guests, and I'm really excited about this guest today. He is my brother. He is sometimes a person that I vent to. He is an author. He is a CEO. He's a choir director. There's so many accolades. But today, specifically, we're going to be talking about this amazing book, Removing the Mask. So yeah, he didn't think I still had it, but I got it. Removing the Mask. We're going to talk about men's issues and removing the mask, and it's very important. In a couple weeks, I'm going to be coming to you with I'm a part of this apostolic hub, apostolic mentorship, and we're going to be talking about this very same topic. Parrish is going to be one of the guests, and I thought that this topic would be very instrumental in kicking off the men's ministry for the apostolic hub that I'm a part of. I can't say the name officially. It's going to be, we changed the name, so I can't say the name officially, but look out for that name, the apostolic hub I'm a part of with Apostle Richard Gunn. And so today, we're going to talk about removing the mask, and I just want to bring our guest on, Parrish Davenport. Parrish!
Hey, bro.
How you doing?
I'm good, and yourself?
I'm good. I'm glad to have you on. So before we start this deep, in-depth conversation, I want you to just introduce yourself to the people in the audience.
All right. Well, as you mentioned, I'm Parrish Davenport, the author of Removing the Mask, Meeting the Real You, and also just released another book in December entitled Cultivating Success. I have a passion for people to do better. We can pick out flaws, but at the end of the day, my passion is that everyone receives the tools to have a bright future, to create a better future, no matter what they encounter to this point. That is really my purpose in life. And I always tell everyone, have a great day on purpose, thrive on purpose, live on purpose. Identify purpose. As he mentioned, outside of being an author, music I enjoy. You can find me here and there directing somebody's choir. Um, Formerly director of Anointed Mind Ministry. We're not going to go there. That's so
Yeah,
right.
that is.
We will leave. I've just been blessed to be able to serve in the community, and I'm excited to be here today to explore the topic of removing the mask.
Blessings. We got Tina James in the audience today. Blessings, blessings, blessings.
Big hug to her.
Yeah, she was our last guest, and woof, we had an amazing conversation.
Yeah.
Amazing conversation. So, removing the mask. I got this quote, and then we're going to just go on from there. It says, behind every behavior is a story. Behind every behavior is a story. Tell me what that quote means to you. Behind every behavior is a story.
Well, glad you actually, yeah. I actually, let me be honest. There's a root behind every behavior. So instead of using root, I decided to use a story. Everyone has a storyline to where they are at, or where they landed at right now in life. So I had a story, and I told the whole world my story in this book. Uh, so when we observe people's behavior, always understand there's something behind it, right? There's a whole storyline that you may not even understand. And it may not be for you to understand because it's their journey. It's what they have to go through to evolve into the person that they're meant to be. I think now in society, we can pick out a behavior and judge it, but you don't know what that person actually went through. You don't know you don't even realize the mask that they're wearing at the moment. So I had to be the sacrifice and write and tell the good, the bad, and the ugly in my life.
Mm,
That's in my life. So
wow. And so, and I mean, I've known you for a long, long time. You're not a person that brags. You're not a person who is very vocal. You're very just a person of action. So, what came to the decision to basically put yourself out there? What came to this decision to really, um, in a sense, expose yourself? I mean, what came to that?
yeah. I'll tell you this. I was thirsty for healing. We
Woo.
could talk about healing, but are you really do you really want to be healed? So I knew part of my healing stage is address every single piece of life that is hindering me from aligning myself to purpose. So
Mm,
don't address, let me go here. When you don't address the trauma, set yourself up for not only just a major delay,
woo.
but everyone else. Let me just say it like this. So, trauma you don't heal from becomes the pain someone else has to bear.
Wait, wait.
So,
Trauma.
the trauma you don't heal from becomes the pain that someone else has to bear. So, your network, anyone connected to you, we're all having to get around you to help bear the trauma that you refuse to address. And we're impacted by it. We're impacted by it. I mean, if we sit back and observe, and as I think you may know by now, I love to sit back and observe. I won't say anything. I just take mental notes and I observe. And I even do that with myself. But indications of trauma could be okay, I'm not happy. Always having something negative to say. I'm always looking to call someone else out. I'm just not happy, period. So I got to
Hmm.
take my trauma and put it on somebody else's trauma. But little do you know, the lack of dealing with trauma, you're creating this mask. Your behavior exposes the mask that you wear. So your sight is only seen, you only see the trauma from your heart. So I have it somewhere in the book where once you put this mask on, you don't have peripheral vision, all right? It's just tunnel. And your sight at this point, the lack of dealing with trauma and abuse, your sight is birthed from what's sitting in your heart. And what is sitting in your heart is the unresolved issues. So you just bleed all over until you take time to say, hey, I have some issues that I'm tired of carrying. I'm tired of making this part of my model. I'm tired of modeling my dysfunctional ways.
Mm, mm.
Sometimes I think we're modeling, hey, I say what I say, I do what I say, and I do whatever I want. And if you don't like it, oh, well, okay. Welcome to the club, Friday, Jason, Friday the 13th. Right? No, honestly, it's a good mask. And I feel like we can do so much more if we just pause and sit in the fact of, I have some unresolved trauma that I need to deal with. And that's one thing I'm very passionate about with men. There's some things for the women as well, right? And
Mm.
also women can understand men a little bit better even if they read the book, right? However, we have to get to the point of sacrificing the trauma that we carry in our lives.
Sacrificing the trauma that we. So you mean to tell me I could be saved, sanctified, filled with the Holy Ghost, but dealing with trauma?
You could be saved, sanctified, speak in tongues, run around church, do all of that, but still dressed in trauma. Still dressed in trauma. Honestly, because here's one thing I realized even through my walk and as I went through everything that I've gone through. Um, God's not going to fight you for your healing. So let me rephrase it. We have to learn how to stop protecting the trauma and learn how to align ourselves for the recovery stage. Sometimes you might just need to just sit there and just hear a word. I think like even and I go to therapy once a month and I'm proud to say that because
Mm.
even if things are great in life, I'm still going. I'm paying out of my pocket to sit there and okay because it's an investment. Um, Sometimes we have to learn how to sit in what we're dealing with so we
Mm.
understand the root of the behavior. As you mentioned at the beginning, behind every behavior is a story. We need to go back to the beginning of the story. Why do I feel this way? Why do I keep practicing? Why did I adapt this behavior? Why am I in love with this mask that I'm wearing day in and day out?
Mm.
And and let me say this too, and it's not a cut. Don't get your mask mistaken as anointing. James, you feel me, right?
I know what
Don't
you
get it
talking.
up. Anointed, and when you're anointed, you go through stuff. Yeah, you do go through stuff, but it's time to deal with it.
Mm.
It's part of my anointing that I'm going to go through this, that. Yeah, but also you are held accountable to align yourself for healing, to be the illustration of healing, the illustration of deliverance. And then here's this: when application's not applied, okay, or when you do apply the process, it creates the transformation.
Now say that again.
Application creates transformation. So if you're not active, if you're not going to apply the fact that I need help, where's the transformation? You're going to keep going through the same cycle. You're going to keep going to church every Sunday, shouting and rolling up and down the carpet, and still walk out to the same issue because the root of the trauma, I think ministry and mental health must go hand in hand. Yes, God is a healer, God is a deliverer, right? But once you get delivered, get in that chair and get some help so that you can continue the path of healing.
Wow. So I'm gonna say over the last year or so, I've really been this mental health thing has really been kind of not dear to my heart, but really, really has come up. Talking to one of my favorite people in the world, Sharice Wright, who is really an advocate for mental health. How we talked about, even though you've come to the altar, after that altar experience, and that's a great saved, sanctified. Now we need to go deal with what brought us to this altar. Now we need to deal with not facing what we, in a sense, got delivered from and really face it. Because after that, I don't want to say after all that stuff wear off, all that emotion, you're going back. And how do I deal with, hey, I was molested at 13? How do I deal with my dad's no longer in my life? Like it, and again, I don't want to nobody to throw stones at me. Prayer is amazing, intercession, consecration, but there has to be a after the altar experience that is practical and that we walk out.
First, let me shout out to Sharice. I definitely like that. And if Latia's still on here, I know they're advocates as well. To answer that question, you have to come out of your comfort zone. The altar is comfort because you will go up there, someone will lay hands on you, you will walk away and say, I feel better, right? That's comfort. The uncomfortable piece of that is I have an addiction that I need to deal with, and I need to say that to myself. I am a whoremonger and I need healing and deliverance. That's the uncomfortable piece of it, right? So, how do you connect these two together? This is what
Mm-hmm.
I said earlier. The ministry and mental health must merge somewhere
Yeah.
because it's comfortable to say, oh, I know what the word says. Yeah, you got to live and operate off the word. We get that. However, getting down to the basics, once you apply the word, now you got to walk it through with getting out here, getting the help, receiving the help that you need, which is therapy and being able to confess. How many of us can really sit back and say, hey, I really enjoy this habit? Yeah, I don't care if you're just saying, here I am, the worship, and we done sang all these songs, and I'm walking out thinking about the same habit. It's an addiction, right? So
Yes.
you can what the word says, but we have to learn how to shift in that uncomfort piece of it and say, hey, I need to be healed from this trauma and I need to call this thing out and I'm ready to be transformed. So now I need to do the work. The work is, yeah, part of the work is going to the altar. I'm not saying, okay, going to the altar is not going to work. Yeah, you're going to get the spiritual piece of it. But after that, you need to apply some professional help. And that's why God anointed um, counselors and therapists and psychiatrists do the work.
Mm.
Until will continue to send you through a cycle. You're going to be at that altar every single Sunday until you do the work.
Mm. So you mean to tell me just going to the altar is not enough?
We know Jesus is going to be at the altar, right? Well, we want Jesus at the altar. Let me say that. Okay?
Yeah.
We definitely want Jesus to be at the altar. That's part of the process, right? That's a step.
Mm.
I think we don't take time to really deal with the fact that you really have an issue. And Jesus is here to help you, but we're going to also give you some resources and tools that will go hand in hand. It's like I don't want to say a service project, but you know, when you work out in the field, social work,
Mm-hmm.
there's tools that continue to get your clients, right? So that's the same thing in this walk and removing the mask. The fact that I go to the altar, I say what I need help with, but there's an after, as you mentioned earlier. What's the post care of hip deliverance,
Whew.
or
Oh,
what's the post of okay, I went to the altar. Okay, I'll be looking forward to seeing you at the altar again next Sunday and next Sunday
yeah.
and next Sunday,
Yes, yes.
and
Yeah.
then I'm going through what's really happening at the altar now.
Hmm. What's really
And
happening at the
I'm
altar?
not, and please, and I don't want anyone to take this and say, oh, he's bashing. I'm not bashing any church. I'm asking you individually, what is occurring at your altar, individually at your altar?
What is happening individually at your altar? And I think one of the things also that we don't understand that we are mind, body, and soul.
Yes.
And
Yes.
so a lot of times we're very unbalanced because we've, fed our soul and we're so spiritual, but when it comes to our mind, some of us are walking around crazy. I was gonna say it. We sometimes we are, another term that Sharice talks about is mental health crisis. Sometimes we're walking around with a mental health crisis and we don't even know it, because there's a chapter in the book that says adapting to the mask. We've had this mental health crisis so long, it has morphed and become a part of who we are every day. We learn how to put on this church mask. We've learned how to put on this work mask. We learned how, and I was teaching Bible study last Sunday, and somebody said, to the point, and I think you've said this too, we don't even take it off no more. It's just a part of who we are. So we even forget to take the mask off in certain atmospheres.
And you know what the result of that is? That's good, James. Walking around comfortable with the mask, and actually we decorate the mask now. We done took
Whew.
it to a whole right. Um, what is the results of walking around with the mask on? Dysfunction. Dysfunction. And then what happens is you pass that dysfunctional behavior down to the next seed in your family. And a lot of
Mm.
these, let me go back. A lot of these masks we actually inherited.
Oh, yes.
We inherited 3 or 4 generations before us, right? So you got to be careful to be able to properly do your research, find out what your family was like, find out that, okay, yeah, this is a common theme in the family, this is a common theme in the family, and this is okay. So now I get my game plan to make sure that that layer of the mask does not exist in my life. But the lack of really embracing you, and I like the fact how you mentioned, okay, walking around in a mental crisis, all we're doing is creating different masks for other people to join the club.
Whew.
So now, this isn't a ministry conversation. I get it. I mean, I
I mean,
try my best to stay forward.
no, it's fine. It's fine. It's needed. This is the
Got to make sure you're not having a masquerade ministry. You know those parties you put the masquerade mask on, and yeah, I'll leave that part there.
a
Yeah,
masquerade
I think
party.
sometimes we live in a masquerade party. This is just me. This
Mm.
is who I am. I'm called and anointed by God. Yeah, but everything got to be level. Everything has to be balanced. So I need to take all this anointing that I say I have and run over to the therapist, right? Because even if you don't feel you have an issue, something's going to come out in therapy. Uh,
Wow.
so let's work on destroying the masquerade movement.
Mm.
That's what I call it, a masquerade movement with a purpose of death, because you'll never get to where you're supposed to be, right? You're becoming something that it's an illusion. Oh, I want to be this, and oh, I want to be that, and I'm called to do this and that. That's fine and dandy, but the title of the book, Removing the Mask, Meeting the Real You. When will you
Ugh.
ever be you and not this imaginary character that you're creating?
Meeting the real you. The meaning you gotta dig through all that stuff. And some of us have been hiding the real us for so long, we don't even know what the real us is. I mean, we just don't know what the real us, and we try to hide behind gifts, talents. We try to hide behind what we do well, but that's not enough. That is suppression.
There you, there you go. it all comes out, and I don't care how gifted you are, it's going to be exposed sooner or later that there's some layers of trauma you must deal with. And I want everyone to be encouraged that's even listening. We experience trauma when we are trimmed for a purpose.
Mm.
So if you think you're gonna walk through this life without trauma, you got something else coming for you, right? So you have to prepare for both the known trauma and the hidden trauma. And then when you begin to apply for the transformation, um, grief hits you
Mm.
because now you have to learn how to live a life without this trauma that you've been carrying around for years. Anytime there's a change, grief is present.
Mm. Mm-hmm. Mm.
So as you're being trimmed for a purpose, the trauma has to come out so that you can begin to deal with it and be made whole or fulfilling your purpose. You can wait, and I got to say this: you cannot fulfill your purpose with a mask on because the mask is not the purpose. You are the purpose. So you're trying to fulfill purpose as an imaginary character. And then you're mad at God that you didn't fulfill it. And he's like, well, if you learn, I'll take off the mask and let's deal with XYZ, then you'll be close to purpose, right? You'll be aligned to purpose. But there's no way one can fulfill purpose with your mask on.
There's no way one can fulfill purpose
With a
with
mask.
one. Wow. We just
Because
got
the mask is only seeing from the pain in your heart. So now that has become your GPS to go a whole different direction. But say I'm in pain, I'm going through help. Yes, I'm not only going to the altar, but I'm going to go get some help. I'm going to go to therapy, and each day I'm going to do something a little different so that I can align myself to the purpose God created for me, not what my illness has created for me.
mm. So how long did it come to a resolve within yourself to say, hey, I need therapy? And what, I know this is a two prong. What was that first therapy session like? Because I mean,
Mm,
we got a double edged sword. We're in the church, well, three in the church, African American, African American male. Those three communities frown upon therapy. I know it's people wanted to be popular and trending, but at the end of the day, those three communities believe we don't need therapy. We in our community, they're like, why are you telling them people your business? Then in the church, they're talking about you just need to go to Jesus. And then as
mhm.
a man, they're talking about man up. It's not that difficult. It's not that hard. So how did you resolve it yourself representing these three communities saying I need to go to therapy?
That is
I'm sorry, I know it's a layer.
put me out on the witness stand. I love it. All right, so I'm gonna go back. Um, One has to understand: do they want to continue coping, or do they want to choose the path of healing? Coping is, I know I got an issue. God is able. Amen. I got to direct the choir Sunday morning, knowing what I did Saturday night. Let's just be real, right? We all have a story, and
We do.
hey, I told the story before the world, so nothing. So let me answer this in three parts. So I had to choose once again. I wanted the transformation. So part of the transformation process is application. Application means I have to say, Parrish, you got some issues that your gifts can't even cover. God is ready to take you on the journey of healing, but you have to be willing to take the journey. as I mentioned earlier, he's not going to fight you for it. It's like, okay, God, I want to be delivered, but while I'm saying that, I'm busy sending a message, right?
Right.
Um, I had to walk alone. Church is church. That's great, but I think so many times we're conditioned. We're conditioned to the word, which is great, but the post, as I said it earlier, the post healing and deliverance tools are not available. I remember sharing with a pastor my experience of being molested, and my life was full of abuse. And the only thing he can say to me was, "Oh, okay, I'm so sorry that happened. So on Sunday, do you feel?" Couldn't provide. And I think what I wanted to hear was, "Hey, well, I'm going to find someone. It's not an area that I can help you in, but I'm going to find some professional help that's going to help you, because if you're going to be managing my music department
Right. Right.
to be an illustration of every song, I didn't get that." So I had to do it and this is no hit towards the pastor at all. But when you know that you're ready to be transformed, you have to get up and say, God, okay, I'm ready to roll. I'm going to do this myself. So, A, I was ready to transform. B, I was ready for the healing process to begin. And guess what, everyone? I'm still on the healing process. Never get to the point where you think, oh, no, because something else creeps up. What was the second part of your question? I covered the church piece. The church piece is just knowing you need to go and get your healing.
African American community.
The African American community, we need to be in therapy, period. There are so many layers that historically before us, we're carrying so much trauma from our ancestors. Okay? Where you feel like you got to work super hard. Like, I'll use me for an example. I'm in management. I'm working through learning how to not feel like I have to always go above and beyond. Because A, I'm the only man, and B, I'm a black man.
Mm.
Mentally, I feel like I got to show up to the table and overperform to prove that I deserve a seat at the table.
Overperform.
Overperform. And if I'm not careful, that will create a new layer of a mask.
Mm.
Because my identity now, I exchange my true identity to having to be validated, seeking validation from management.
Wow.
So how many of us that's watching are you, or do you exchange your authentic self for survival? What you think is survival. So
Mm.
as I told the whole wide world my story, God bless her, Teresa, like, Parrish, I think you might want to, not that I was crazy or anything, but being able to speak about this topic, she wanted to ensure that, hey, she wanted to push me to the point of knowing you can discuss this without having to break down. This was the first time that I went. So as I'm in therapy, I'm sitting here on the couch. Hey, I got my whole church hat on, ready to. I already know. Let's roll.
Yeah.
But the things that was exposed in therapy session shook my whole foundation. All these years I'm in church doing XYZ. And at that time, and quote, I'm going to say this so no one can put it out there, but at that time, it was exposed that you dealt with being a sex addict. Right? We can't have these type of conversations.
We
Not that
can't.
we
We
refuse
refuse.
type of conversation. So at the age, I think I was 32 or 33, and as we're going through my life, that's what she said. I'm like, oh no. So guess what I had to do? I had to begin to put the work in to change that narrative on the fact that no, we're not doing this. And I had to get to the root of, where did this behavior come from? This behavior came from what? Okay, molestation. Yeah, but what did molestation birth? I had to go all the way back and begin to do the work, apply the tools that was given to become the man I am now. For those that, or if you are not recognizing this or you don't receive the tools to identify these barriers in life, it just becomes your mask, and your behavior is dominated. Every action is dominated by the mask.
I'm going to say something, and I know I'm going to get some stones thrown at me. But for some of us, and I'm not bashing the church, but for some of us, the church has not been a safe space. It's been a counterfeit space. I just want us to sit with that one right
Let
there. And I
that for
only say that because we always say that this is a safe space, right? But what happens when someone comes in your space that is not like you? And I'm just going to go a little bit further, and I know that people are not going to like this. When that, I just got to say it, we got to have these conversations. When that homosexual or that transgender person comes in your space, sometimes they don't feel welcomed. They know what they are most of the times, and they're seeking out. You're saying, "Hey, I got to go here." It's creative conversations. We're having real conversations, and we're
right.
saying that this is a safe space. But sometimes, like I said, it's not a bash, but it's an accountability piece.
James,
Eesh.
go here. Let's go here. Keep in mind, I'm going to keep putting this out here. This is not the American church bash creative conversation. These are conversations that we have to be uncomfortable to become comfortable,
Uncomfortable.
right? It's an uncomfortable topic, right? But James, let me push back. Not even push back. Let me add this. Could it be that fact that the church is wearing a mask?
Let's shut this down.
Could it be the fact that the church is wearing a mask? Yes, we know the Holy Spirit. Yes, we know the scriptures. Yes, but there's still a big disconnect, right? So if we will walk the word, yes, if I be lifted up, I'll draw all men unto me, and God is able to do anything but fail, blah, 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 blah. But we're still missing the key piece within that mental health area. And I think the key piece at the end of the day is illustration of love. Of love. You can say whatever you want, but at the end of the day, you get the results on what you set up for, what you prepare for. Let's just go there, right? So if you have, I'm not going to even go off down that app. At the end of the day, the results, you prepare for the results you're receiving. I think across America, we have to identify, we have some ministries that have a mask on.
We
And you
do.
want to know why I say that? You ready? The fruit that's bared.
Mm-hmm.
Fruit that's bared, So I'm glad you brought that up. Yeah, it's churches can do better with more resources and focus groups on topics like this, healing and deliverance, right? Different groups like that or ministry. What do they call them in different churches? The cell groups, that
Cell groups.
cell block groups, right? We don't have that anymore. We don't even technically really have prayer. Tonight is just going to be a prayer service from 7 to 8:30.
No.
All that's
We,
out the. I remember being a little boy growing up. They used to have prayer meeting. Then they had Bible study the next day. Then the
yep.
next choir rehearsal. Then
Yes.
processional and for service. I miss those days because if I had to say anything back then, those were the days that illustrated order.
And if we could go another level, the church body now doesn't minister to the entire wholeness of a person.
Holistic Transformation.
Holistic transformation. We just deal with that spiritual part,
Right.
but we don't deal with like I said, we're mind, body, and soul. So sometimes we're unbalanced and uneven. I'm gonna give you an example, and I'm gonna put myself out here. The reason why I can talk about safe space, counterfeit space, because I experienced it. I was at I don't know if it was a men's gathering, um, but I always thought the church was a safe space. I was like, this is a safe space. I could say whatever I'm going through. I went up to a minister. I don't even know if I've ever told this story before. I think I've told Sharice this story. I went up to a minister and said, you know what? I'm struggling with lust and perversion. And the minister said, he looked around. He said, I'm sorry. God is not giving anything for me to minister to you. And he walked away. And so at that moment, I said, God, I ain't telling nobody my business.
Mm-hmm.
You said this is supposed to be a safe space, and here I go. I'm talking to another brother. Now you can't tell me you and if you're successful in that area, help me to navigate it. But he said, okay, God is not giving me anything. And I think that it was at that point where I said, you know what? I can't trust this space that I really held so high. And this is not all churches. I'm not saying that. But we just have to come to a place of accountability, truth, and trust. And from that point, I said, I'm not telling nobody nothing. I'm just, and at the moment I didn't know, but I said, I'm just gonna wear this mask. I'm gonna lead praise and worship. I'm gonna lead prayer meeting.
I
Y'all
I
gonna get all this anointing, but y'all ain't gonna know nothing of what I'm going through.
I'm sorry that you went through that because that's similar to the same thing I shared earlier, what I've gone through, correct? I feel as though you can study the word, you can preach the word, but there's a huge opportunity for trauma training and ministry, trauma based training and ministry.
Mm.
Um, so even though in that situation, I may not, if I was to pass that pastor or that person in leadership, hey, God didn't give me anything to give to you. However, I'm going to give you a call this week because there's a therapist or there's someone that can definitely, I want to be committed to your success. You're committed to your healing. So even though God didn't give me anything, I should, in the natural sense, be able to provide some type of tool so that we can get you aligned. Am I
Something.
am I not my brother?
Mm.
And so I think that's one thing that we're lacking, right? Because folks then in situations like that, what was the result of that? It made you create a mask. Hey,
Yeah.
I'm not going to be vulnerable anymore. And men, it's hard for us to be vulnerable. So then
Yeah.
we end up staying in a cycle. We live in this cycle because we can't come out and say, hey, I have this issue, or I'm going through this, or I'm battling through this. And when you do say that, yeah, I know the scripture inside. Okay, yeah, pray with me. Yes, I appreciate that. But then where's the professional tools? I think we lack holistic transformation. Yes, we want to do
Mm.
building bring door, but what happens when a person gets in the door? What do you have that's going to keep them? I go to a doctor because I feel like my doctor serves me right, properly diagnose me, properly sends me for the tests and the labs that I need. So I have that sense of trust. I think the big issue that's occurring now across America, period, is the lack of trust within ministry.
Mm-hmm.
Gifts, my talents, that's it.
And the lack of, I want to say also a lack of sensitivity. There's a lack of sensitivity
Mhm.
overall because a lot of times I've heard, well, you couldn't survive in my day because if I would have went through that, my parent would have said, oh, suck it up. And I'm like, well, that don't mean that's right. Like, and so we want, that's what we talk about, the trauma. We're so induced in our trauma that we don't know it's trauma. And so what is trauma, we don't think is trauma, so we want other people to just continue to go through. Well, my little cousin touched me when I was small, and I didn't say nothing, and look how I am. You know what I'm saying? Like, we're just making
Exactly. Go back home.
excuses. Like, wait, did you hear yourself? Did you hear what you just said? I used to
Wait,
get I used to get punched in the face by my dad, and look how I turned. Like,
they-
what?
no, it just readjusted your mask, right? Because untreated pain will continue to send you through a cycle. Untreated pain, untreated trauma will set you up to continue embracing this cycle. Jesus
Mm.
with me, yes, I know, but when do you actually get uncomfortable enough to say, hey, there's something really going on that's not right? Why every time I open up my mouth, something negative?
I'm gonna say something that's gonna be controversial. Not that
It
we haven't already,
is right.
but man, it's gonna be twofold. One thing my brother Travis said, and this is going somewhere. When you have people around you and you're responsible for paying their bills, they ain't gonna check you. So you got a person that is dealing with trauma, but you ain't said nothing because they need you to pay their bills. And I'll fast forward to Puffy. I know a lot of people will say, "Oh, and what he has done, that video is terrible." But who was around him that could have checked him? But because he paid their bills, because he sent their child to college, they didn't have the ability to check him. And as a result, this is the person we have. And there was a post that said, "We talking about Diddy." I'm going to basically give the verse. We talking about Diddy, but we got a lot of Diddies in our families and in our bloodline that
There's
we
a
ain't checked.
and let's go here. But for grace and mercy, you're not a Diddy. If we go back a couple years ago, you might be aligned with Diddy, right? Let's just be honest. We all have fallen short. We all have a cross to bear. We all have an issue that we're trying to work through. But I like what you said, the fact that all these people were around Diddy, no one checked him. So my question to our audience is make sure your network is not setting you up to fail. Check me.
Check
Check
me.
me. It does not feel well when someone checks you, but at the end of the day,
Don't.
check me so that I know you're not only just a committed friend and you're just not going to write me just for being who I am, but no, you have an issue with rejection. This is how you deal with rejection. You know, a good friend of mine said that to me. This friend always calls me out on something, and it makes me mad because when he calls me out, I'm like, shut up. But then at the end of the day, it's like, you know what? Yo, you're right. You know, I had to think about it. It doesn't feel well at the beginning. So my heart, you know, I'm not going to even touch the Diddy situation. I'm just going to say this that a very good point, James, on make sure you have a network that's conducive to your healing.
Yes. Make sure that's good.
Make sure
That's
you have a network that is aligned to your healing, committed to your healing, not babying you, but guess what? This is what's going on with you. I think you should get the proper help. Not writing their name on your mask. And I think we have too many people committed to dysfunctional behavior. You know,
yes.
did it that way, yep, do it. Yep, I agree with you. Tell them off. Do this, do that, right? But at the end of the day, you just have to examine, do I have people around me suffocating me with a new layer of a mask? Or do I have those around me that's truly rooting for my freedom and helping me align myself to meet more of me versus more of their expectations?
And
I think sometimes church
Ooh.
can you to reach to see their expectation or to see their vision. But then, okay, you see their vision, you see, but what's up with your soul? And you begin to
What's
look,
up with your soul?
what's up with your soul? How may I help you? You know, and I think the great, I don't think, I know the greatest gift of them all is love. Can you love that person coming in the church that may be dressed up differently? Can you love that person that says, "Hey, I'm a crackhead. I just smoked before I came in the door"? Can you love the person that's dealing with identity crisis? Right? That could be homosexual. That could be whatever it may be. There's a whole list when we talk about, because every time we say identity crisis, we automatically go to homosexuality. No, there's a whole list of other things that someone can deal with facing. Can we properly assist them other than just a prayer?
Mm.
Because this is ministry, right? So I feel like ministry should be set up to help an individual remove at least a layer of their mask beyond the altar. Because if you get delivered at the altar, then what happens? You walk away from the altar, I'm sure by tomorrow, if not that night, that thing's coming back stronger. So what's the post care?
Mm. I was just
I would
about to go there.
mental. I would love to see a mental crisis ministry in church.
Ah, me too.
A
Yes, and
bunch
it's needed.
of therapists that they know the word, but they're therapists as well.
Yes, once back in our day, once they joined the church and they signed up, once they had that person, okay, we're going to connect you to a mental health professional through this journey.
Yep.
If we had that, like something that's something that you mentioned, I always feel like the altar call is like surgery. Like I feel like the service preps you in a sense for surgery, and then at the end you're going to surgery, and God is doing this amazing work on you. But when they get done with you out of surgery, there's a post-op process because you still got
Discharge,
the stitches. You still got the stitches.
and there's a discharge plan in place. Now I'm going.
Discharge plan.
That was my old profession, being a discharge coordinator. So, what is the discharge plan in place? Some end up going to a facility. Some
Yeah.
end up a rehabilitation. Some is strong enough to go home with a home health aide. We need the same thing from the altar of getting saved. What happens? New members class is cute, but what happens in between new members class Sunday morning? What happens in between?
Oh, I remember there was a time back in the day where the person they joined the church or is saved or whatever, and they say, "All right, brother Timmy, you're gonna be this person's prayer partner, and what you're going to do is in a sense, you're walking through discipleship with them." We don't have that anymore. We have get saved. What area are you gifted in? That's where you need to be. But we don't have
Whoa.
discipleship. Yeah, this is turned into.
Dang, dang. You're right. You're right. Proper discipleship. I would love, like I said, a mental health crisis ministry, therapists, life coaches, those that are well balanced with not just the word, but their what they went to school for, their profession. This is their
Yes.
profession, right? So you get that combination. Now you are really setting the path to disciple this new member, and their life will never be the same because you provided
Dang.
all the tools. Before you want to jump up in the choir or before you join the usher board and stuff, let's just deal with, because you don't want a mean usher at the door. And you're mean because of what happened in fourth grade back in 1972. You know what I'm saying? No, I'm just being honest. You keep leading trauma on people. I feel like just the proper process to align folks to purpose and not rushing to place them in areas that they're gifted to serve in, but let's deal with this other stuff first so that you'll be effective. Because if not, they're going to infect the whole team.
affect the whole team. There was a crazy quote that Apostle Richard Gunn said that God is not dealing with your anointing in this season. He's dealing with your maturity. And it takes a mature person to say, you know what? I need therapy. And therapy is not, I'm going to say this, it's not a one-time fix. You need to go to therapy. When you talked about prayer in and out of season, therapy in and out of season.
Healing is a journey.
Therapy when you don't, right. Therapy when you don't even think that you need it. You might not need it. At one time, you might have been going every week. You might not need it every week, but you might need it quarterly. You might need it monthly, but never stop that therapy. And it's a shame because we don't even try to provide mental health services in a sense that are affordable. Like if you don't have that job insurance, that
Yes.
$50 a session or $100 a session.
What we should be focused on. Let's be honest. That's where we really need to be focused on. I want to go back real quick to a point you made um, as far as the disciple flow. Um, Even being in whatever, it could be a corporation, it could be church, whatever it may be, you have to be careful that you're healthy enough to even serve in that area. Because if not, you're serving in that area with a mask, right? You're not fulfilling your true assignment as the executive director of this location, or you could be the minister of music here, or you can be the head of the usher board here, right? If you're not, if you're not healthy and mentally, emotionally, physically, okay, most of all, that's it, spiritually, you're going to attack other folks. As I mentioned at the beginning, the trauma you don't heal from becomes the pain someone else is going to bear. So
Hmm.
sure that someone else is not putting you in a place that's going to create a mask. You got to have boundaries.
Hmm.
Part of knowing that you're free and taking a layer off of a mask is boundaries. Okay, look, this is what I'm going to do. This is what I was asked to do. I'm going to do this. Even though I'm capable of doing X, Y, Z, nope, 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 because it's a trap.
Wow.
So the mask form in so many different ways. So that's why you have to know yourself, but you can't know yourself if you're not aware of who you truly are. So you
Yes.
that because you don't put yourself in all of this, all of these activities and stuff. And God's like, I never told you to do that anyway. Your pain caused you to do this because it was an antibiotic for this infection that you won't deal with.
And you got to take mental health breaks. You got to take some time for you, pastor. I want to talk to the pastor. You don't got to preach every Sunday.
Mm-mm.
I'm sorry. That's why you got them ministers, them deacons, whoever. Sometimes you just need to take a step away. There is no prize for preaching every Sunday during the year. There's no prize for that. You wearing yourself out. You know what I'm saying? Like you
It's just
never
in
take a
leadership
state
too.
back.
I agree with you, but even just in leadership as well, you must
Leadership.
design your life for to be reset. As you see, I'm here in Philly, and I've been here since Thursday, and I'm enjoying it, right? Because reset, and I always do this. I always just jump up and take a trip because it's my time to reset and be replenished and gain the understanding. I do a lot of reflecting. Okay, this season has been rough. Why was it rough? Oh, because you said yes to this. You didn't have boundaries with this. You felt like you had to be captain, save a project. And so, why did you feel you had to do that? Oh, this is back up. This issue's creeping back up. So you did X, Y, Z. So I encourage people. Part of the process in removing the mask is not just having boundaries, but create you time. So, like for me, I know Tuesday
Yes.
is my work days, right? If I'm going to have a rehearsal or do anything, it has to fall on these 2 days. If not, guess what? I'll have to get back to you, even down to my phone call. Nope, you can email me or text me, but I have specific working days, being
Mm.
a friends and family initiative, and then I'm doing some therapy on the side, working a full-time job, all right, and then doing some church music stuff. That's a full schedule. So for me to stay sane, I have to balance life. Here's anything that happens on my rehearsal night is the day that I can have meetings or anything. That every other day has to be for me.
Mm.
Selfish is not selfish. It's called maintaining my journey to healing and not suffocating myself.
Maintaining
And,
my journey to
and
healing.
I
Whew.
mean, be persistent in saying that I change every day. I want to do better the day before. Attitude, with my productivity, with just my response to things. But we get drunk by being in so many activities. Feel like, okay, you asked me to do this, and I have to do this, and no, all it is reconfiguring that mask because you feel like, oh, I'm needed. Oh, so this is feeding the issue that I have anyway. So I feel a lot better. Wow, James called and asked this. I feel. You think I'm just gonna say, okay, yeah, we're brothers and friends, but it was meant for me to be here. It was an assignment. It was attached to the invitation. But those that are doing, pray, understand, discern, even if you're not in prayer life, okay, sit back and examine what the opportunity is and make sure you're not accepting with a motive uh, to aid your issue.
Hmm. Wow. This has been an amazing conversation.
James, this was great.
This this is just a precursor. I'm telling you, we have going to have a men's conversation about removing the mask with panelists. It's coming up. Please be on the lookout for that. It's going to be a virtual event. Um, please be on the lookout. But we just needed to really, really dive into removing the mask. And uh, as we close, I always like for my guests to impart some type of wisdom, some type of encouragement to our audience. And so I want to um, I want you to really encourage that person who is on the fence about going to therapy. They're in church, they in ministry, they anointed, they can prophesy up and down, but they are on the fence about going to therapy. Could you just minister, encourage that person?
Yeah, it's time to get off the fence. You're created to thrive on thriving on purpose. When I think about that, I think in a holistic way. Yeah, you're gifted to do XYZ. Whether it's leading a team, whether it's a praise and worship leader, director, pastor, or even in the corporate world, be an executive. Uh, However, you want to secure you want to secure your success, and success is wrapped up mentally, physically, spiritually, and emotionally. Just because you're great, you still got something inside that you need to deal with internally that you need to deal with. Therapy to me is nothing but an emotional business plan to secure
Mm,
yourself. If you look at it instead of looking at it as I need help. Yeah, we all need help, right? But let's build the infrastructure of your success. And part of that is your mental health and your emotions, right? That's connected. So I want to encourage everyone, therapy is needed, whether you are having a great season in life or one of the worst seasons ever. Invest in yourself to secure success and to align yourself with purpose.
mm. Thank you. Thank you so much,
All I
Parrish.
can get,
That's good. That's really good. That's good. That's good. Thank you for joining us. Even on your getaway, you took time.
about to go to King of Prussia and money. And then I'm back in Pittsburgh tomorrow at 7 o'clock, and you'll see
Woo.
me pulpit, hopefully on time. On time, but that, James, I appreciate this. Creative conversations, guys. Continue to support because they are creative. It's so many great creative conversations that's needed.
Hmm.
Say, hey, I wish we had a platform, or here's one of the major platforms, and be committed to James' success. This has been in the making for a long time. I have to be telling your business. However, this there's some great people, some great guests that he has. So I'm humbly grateful that you had me on your show today, and I encourage everyone to continue to not only just remove your mask, but dive into the creative conversation coming ahead. Oh,
Wow.
you get your whole promo, right?
Yeah, you did. Yeah. So where can we find this?
On Amazon. Go on Amazon. But if you want like a signed copy, you can just inbox me. But Amazon does have it. You get it in a day or two. That was my first book. And if you're interested in creating a plan in life, look for Cultivating Success. You would think I would have a copy of that book.
Yeah, I forgot. I got mine is over there. We're gonna have to bring you on to talk about that one as well. How you remove the mask and now you're cultivating plans.
And James,
So,
before you hit the sign off button on, I just got to share this. To everyone, I should have added this on with what I said, but I need to say this. The funeral is over.
mm,
What do I mean? Stop sitting in the situation that was meant to die so that you
whew,
can rise and become the person that you're supposed to be. And that is requiring you to remove the mask. But there's no one, it's been over, right? So seasons have died. And I feel like a few of us keep sitting there replaying the death. That's the
wow,
myself. So other
that's
than
a whole.
that, so yeah, we will move on with our
We
Saturday.
want we want to thank Reverend Parrish.
No, Parrish or P, okay? You know those titles.
For that word.
Oh,
I'm really I'm working on something. Probably I love all my guests. I'm working on probably one of the biggest guests I ever had. And so we're still working on it. And so be on the lookout for that. I can't release the name yet.
now, one creative conversations you guys will see. So, like
Yes.
the page, do what you need to do so that you can continue to
Oh
support
yeah. Where can we follow you on social media? Could
just
you
my
give
name,
us
Davenport.
nothing special, not the
Simple,
official, not the
nothing special. You're not going to around my name. No, it's just
the the lights. I got to get out.
you know what? We're cutting up, y'all. Y'all
Yeah,
seeing
no,
a
I
relationship
ain't
now.
got no rest. I was supposed to get off at 8, y'all, and I got off a little later. So I'm a
Wow.
little, but thank you, thank you. And like I tell everybody, please, thank you for having a creative conversation with us. Be blessed.